Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Entheogenic Esquire podcast. My name is Greg Lake. I'm an attorney. I specialize, a trial appellate attorney specializing in civil rights and nonprofit law. Here today, we're going to be discussing the demand letter, which is cease and desist letter, recently sent to Wolves and Finance. And for those who might not be familiar with what I'm talking about, we're going to watch a snippet of Wolves and Finance video, but essentially, Turning Point USA has written a cease and desist letter to Wolves and Finance, as we'll see in a second, basically threatening litigation if Wolves and Finance did not either take down or correct some of the content that he has posted on his YouTube channel, calling into question TPUSA's actions. And so today we're going to take a look. I'm going to give you my thoughts as an attorney. I have and speak real briefly about some of my past defamation experience and come to a conclusion on really what this means. And really, I'm going to give an opinion on how I think the community should respond in this situation. So let's transition real quick. Let's go ahead and go over and take a look here at his video. Again, this is Wolves and Finance. I'll put a link to the video in the description. Please go give him a follow, like, share, all the good stuff. He has a great channel and he's been doing good work. As I'll say in a second, we'll discuss, we really should rally behind this gentleman. He's doing great work and he's really putting himself out there in a way. Again, he got this letter. And so really we should, in my opinion, rally behind Zach here at Wolves and Finance. But let's look real quick. Let's watch his video. And we're just going to do the first part just to give everyone some context of what I'm going to be discussing in this video. So here we go.
I received a letter from Turning Point titled Demand to Cease and Desist Defamatory Comments. This is the first step when someone sues you for defamation. I know there are a lot of people out there making videos about Turning Point, so you should pay attention to this. They have started sending out cease and desist letters, and for some reason, they've decided to start with me. Apparently, they cannot handle the criticism from my teeny tiny YouTube channel. This letter is showing the world the type of organization Turning Point has become under Charlie Kirk. They want to send legal letters to small YouTube creators. So we're going to go through this letter. And by the way, if any of you know a good lawyer in Arizona that handles defamation cases, have them send me an email through my website because I'm looking for a lawyer.
Okay, so again, just playing the introduction there. For you, so that way just to give some context, and I'm almost sure Zach probably has already had someone contact him about a lawyer. Zach, if you're watching this video and you haven't been in contact with a good lawyer yet, let me know. I do have some attorney contacts of mine in Arizona, and I'm almost positive through them we could find an appropriate defamation attorney for you, brother. So just reach out if you need to. My email for this channel is in my description, so feel free to reach out if you see this video and you don't have an attorney yet. So turning to the merits of this discussion, first I just want to say it's very sad to see that it's come to this. In a way, I understand why Turning Point would have wanted to write that letter. Now, if y'all haven't seen, also, let me recommend Baron Coleman's podcast from tonight. His live stream made a good point. Apparently, this lawyer is in Indiana, I believe, but wrote a demand letter for legal action to an individual in Arizona, Wolves and Finance, Zach. And Baron pointed out that potentially this could be this lawyer attempting to practice law in another state. And I'm not going to go into the details about why that is. Baron covered it very well on his podcast, so feel free to hop on over there. One other thing too, Baron does some further educating his audience on the 501c3, 501c4 distinction. I didn't know this at first, but apparently he also has quite a bit of extensive experience in consulting 501c3 and c4. So again, as always, check out Baron. He does a really good analysis of this whole thing. I'm not going to go through each claim like Baron did. I will say that I do agree with his analysis fully of kind of the merits of each claim. And again, this is all opinion. Baron's obviously not representing Zach at Wolves of Finance. I'm not either. But these, he gave some very good opinions on kind of the merits of each of those claims. And really, there was only two that might have some teeth or merit to them. The rest of them, I agree with Barron. It was very silly. And I must say I agree with Barron, too, that this letter for TPUSA really is disastrous, right? And this kind of goes to what me and Danks have been talking about. But, when a 501c3 or a 501c4, these public charities, these tax-exempt entities are subsidized by us taxpayers, right? And so we certainly have a right to demand that they abide by the rules that the Congress and IRS has set out for nonprofits, because they're there for a reason. And I think right now what we're seeing unraveling right in front of us is case in point of why some of these nonprofit rules are the way that they are. So my experience, right? So as an attorney, I have been involved in several different defamation cases. I want to speak about my first one because I was a very young attorney. In 2013, I represented a girl who was on that show on MTV, 16 and Pregnant. Do y'all remember that? Anyways, I represented a girl who was defamed by MTV and Star Magazine and some of these other publications. And so as a very young attorney, I think I'd only been an attorney about a year, I was involved in some very, very intense defamation litigation with Star Magazine, MTV, some of these more well-known or notorious publications, I guess I'd say, or media outlets. And it was intense. And they paid some very high-priced lawyers to come and fight me. And so defamation litigation can get very expensive, very difficult, very quick. It's not the easiest topic to litigate as an attorney. And so there's a very special subset of attorneys who specialize in these things. And so, yeah, defamation can for sure be a tricky thing. I kind of got my knowledge on, or my wisdom, kind of trial by fire, coming straight out of the incubator from law school and getting licensed. And then that was one of the first lawsuits I filed on my own accord. And so, yeah, I've got some experience here. And again, I agree with Barron's analysis, kind of point by point on the claims of TPUSA. But overall, regardless, even if there are a couple of their claims that could have some merit, I really think that TPUSA is pressing the wrong buttons here. So here's my number one reason why I think TPUSA is pressing the wrong buttons here, and it's called litigation. Now, as many people are aware, when you litigate, when you sue someone, there's this thing called discovery, where each party has a right to send discovery requests, which it might be requests to produce documents, a request to admit some statement, or interrogatories asking a general question which receives a narrative answer. So if Turning Point were to turn around and sue Zach, well, guess what happens then? A lot of those items that I've been talking about, Danks has been talking about, other creators have been talking about that we would like to look at, those potentially could be open to examination at that point. And so, and here's why it's especially true in this defamation context, is that truth is a defense to defamation. And so if Zach at Wolves and Finance was sued for defamation, he would be able to ask TPUSA for any documents or other evidence to help him prove his truth defense. And so some of the stuff that he was even missing in these episodes and again, this was all his opinion, right? Because a lot of it, as I've said in some of my other content, we just don't have enough to really draw any kind of real conclusions as far as was this fraudulent or illegal, or was it against the tax code? However, if Zach was to be sued, we potentially could have access to those documents, right? So this kind of bleeds into my next point, is that I think us as a community should stand in solidarity behind Zach. And I'll just say this. I think there's going to be some fundraisers to ask the community to help contribute in case Zach does get sued, to help him afford attorney fees and things of that nature. Now, considering that lawsuit could open the opportunity for us to gather documents and things of that nature for our research and investigation, beyond it being just the right thing to do to help Zach in this situation, that is an incidental, I say benefit, but it would open up TPUSA for us to probe and potentially get evidence, documents, things of this nature that we've been looking for within our investigation. And again, not to say that if someone asks for a donation for Zach, that's the only reason you should give it. It really is the right thing to do. And I tend to believe, as many other commentators have stated, that if we weren't really close over the mark, so to speak, I doubt that TPUSA would be going through these links, and again, this is my opinion, would be going through these links to try to shut this down. Obviously, this letter to Zach, because he's kind of been the most prominent as far as looking at TPUSA and its financials and the propriety there, I really believe this was a shot across the bow that was not only intended for Zach, but also intended for creators like me and other creators. So if you're enjoying this content and you're really getting a lot out of it, please be amenable to donating to help Zach, or perhaps even a common pool of money or funds in order to help any of us who are out here really searching for the truth. You know, donating money to help protect us in the event that litigation occurs be very, very helpful and will keep us feeling better pushing forward. So just wanted to put that out there, but I do want to make this a call to action to rally behind Zach. So support his channel. I think he's got a subscription to his for his channel there. And so anything you can do to help Zach, please do that. I think in the background here, we're working, some of these other content creators and me are working to get some GoFundMes and things together to help raise money to defend Zach. So I just wanted to put that out there. And lastly, I want to say that I really think it's time for a nonprofit to come through that really focuses on teaching and educating the public about nonprofit rules and regulations and nonprofit formation, and help current nonprofits figure the nonprofit management thing out. And so I've been talking with some other creators about it. Just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, I think looking at TPUSA, it's really time for some of us in the know of how to properly do these things really come out and help role model for the community, because nonprofits are meant to be good and everybody should feel good giving to nonprofits. And unfortunately, my opinion, looking at TPUSA and some of their transactions and the way that they've carried themselves, I think it's done a little bit, again, my opinion is that it's done a little bit of damage to nonprofits generally, and other people who are out here running nonprofits appropriately, people who would cry in gratitude over a $500 donation. What Turning Point USA has done, in my opinion, doesn't help those people who are really out there trying to make a change. And so I just want to throw that out there. Let me know what y'all think about this. Again, I think the opening up of discovery from TPUSA could spell disaster for them. And so filing a lawsuit against Zach might come with a lot of unintended negative consequences for them. Again, that's just my opinion. Anyways, I love y'all. I hope y'all had a great weekend. Let's go ahead and kill it this next week. And yeah, I'll see you on the next episode. Much love.